Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about my personal top 5 games of 2024. This has nothing to do with game of the year or candidates or statistics or numbers or reviews. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's just games that I've spent the most time in, that I like, and that were on my little made-up list. So let's dive right into it, and let's see. Maybe some of you guys have the same. All right, so jumping right into it, at number 5, a game that I believe a lot of people have forgotten about, but that's okay. I'm here to remind you today, is Power World. I loved Power World, man. I was a big fan. I played for the first few months, man. I think I didn't really fall off that game until like April or March, getting into May. I was playing that game, and it was really good. I remember it came out in like the first 2 weeks of January of 2024, so early 2024, and it was just so good. I just enjoyed it so much. I remember not really wanting to play it at first because I didn't really play. I don't really play those survival type games, but I decided to give it a chance, and it was just all go after that. So it was really good. I don't play a lot of survival games, but I really love the fact that it was, even though it, yes, I know people say it copied Pokemon. It was Pokemon with guns, Pokemon with guns. All right, that's what everybody was saying, but it had such a dynamic element to it because you were able to catch these Pokemon and like it's I kind of, in a way, it kind of like it did everything we thought Pokemon would be, right? Like to help you in real life, things that we see in the show and it didn't really work in the game. And it was like, it was pretty cool because it was like you would catch these monsters, you would level them up, you would fight with them, and then they would help you build your base, and they all had a job. And it was just like, I don't know, like you would build different bases, and the exploring and the catching, and it was, you would get to certain areas and you would like you would be like, okay, I can't do this, it's too big, I'm not ready for this area just yet. And I really enjoyed Power World. I don't play it as much now, but I definitely think that for what that game was, it made my top 5. And I know that there were maybe better games in 2024. Like, I'm not saying that it's the best game. It's a top 5. I know it's not going to be in everyone's top 5, but it was just for what it was and what people thought it was going to be. Power World, man, is underrated. Number 5. Number 4. Number 4, I'm probably going to get some flack on. I may be a little bit biased, but I'm going to just go for it. This is like the 4th game that I played this year, so it is what it is. Number 4 is Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And I know, it's an anime game, and it did really well, and it exploded onto the scene, and then it kind of fell off pretty hard. I know. But I think that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero was, it really embroidered what the Tenkaichi games were. And I was a big fan of the Tenkaichi games. So it was like, it's kind of like a remake without being a remake because it's a different game. But it did such a good job of capturing of what that like PS2 era was for me. And even though, like, I know it was very repetitive and the fighting was very repetitive, animations looked beautiful, gameplay was fun, fluid, and it just hit for me. I just think that Dragon Ball Sparking Zero was one of those games I had a lot of fun with. It was great to go through the characters. You unlocked characters, you couldn't buy them, and it was just it brought me, maybe like I said, I'm being a little biased. Maybe it brought me back to like childhood gaming a little bit, and I don't care what nobody says. This game's on my list. Top 5 for me. It was top 5. So this is short, sweet, and to the point. Sparking Zero, they had the online was hard. Like, that was the one thing with it. Like, even these online fighters, I'm not a fighting game guy, so like I'm okay with going through the stories and getting all the outfits and going to the shop and doing the Dragon Ball wishes, and it was also competitive. Like, it was just so much fun to just play against friends and stuff like that and have fun with characters. I also think the power scaling was cool because, like, some of the characters, like, like the some of the characters that aren't as good felt like they weren't as good, and then you had a lot of like OP characters, like like the blue forms and Super Saiyan blue forms and Gogeta, and you just couldn't catch a break online with those characters. But it was fun, and I think one thing I also really love about that story is that like they made you play every single part. Like you only play, like if you were Goku or Vegeta or Piccolo in the campaign, you only did their parts, and that was actually cool because it broke up the story. You were able to go through campaigns really fast instead of playing like the same exact story for the 652nd time. It was fun. I do think that they could add like a couple different game modes, like I don't know, like a tower mode or some kind of just like a just something a little different. They could add something like that. But overall, I think the game was just a fun anime game. Anime games usually don't do very well, so I was very happy for this. And me, man, I actually did pick up the collector's edition for that, so I got a cool little statue up there, and it was fun. It's just a fun game, and I think it did really well. It was fun. It was a good Dragon Ball game. So there you go. That's number 4. All right, moving right along with number 3. This third spot was tricky for me. There was a lot of games in 2024 that I really liked, and I spent some time in. And even though I went back and forth a little bit, I really believe that it's good. It could have been 4, could have been 3. It was going back and forth a little while, and that is Astrobot. Astrobot, I know it won Game of the Year. We're going to start off with that. I know it won Game of the Year. I do not think it was Game of the Year. You will see what my number 1 spot is the game I believe should be Game of the Year as well. But like I said before, these ratings have nothing to do with the game awards or anything like that. And but honestly, Astrobot was very good. I really enjoyed it. Colorful, fluid, just fast, challenging. I also love that it was very challenging. There was a lot of things, like I platinumed that game. Even though it was an easier platinum, it was some of those courses was like, it was giving me that heart palpitation and the sweats, man. It was hard. Some of them were very hard. One thing I absolutely adored about Astrobot was that they the tributes that they did to some of the PlayStation games were absolutely phenomenally done. They were so good. The God of War level, the Uncharted level, the Horizon level. I mean, you were if you played those games, and I did play all of them, it was so well done. I actually could not believe it. Like, it was just, I was blown away. And that is why it did make the number 3 spot on my list. And I had a lot of fun. I like those PlayStation exclusives. I'm not doing the console war thing, but like they just did such a good job playing tribute to it, and it was a lot of fun. The whole like little area, and you built the PS5. It's just so good. One thing I just didn't really love about it was that it was like very similar to the first game, and it was not very different in that aspect. It didn't change the scope of Astrobot, and maybe I was expecting a little bit more, maybe of an open world game or something like to that magnitude. But it was, other than that, the game was great. A lot of fun. I'm glad people enjoyed it, and hopefully we get more Astrobot in the future. So moving on to number 2. All right, number 2, and I am excited for number 2 because number 2 was a game that I was preparing to buy, but I did not think it was going to be as good as it was, and that is Stella Blade. Stella Blade was absolutely phenomenal. If you have a PS5, you need to go and play this game, point blank. This was also another game that I platinumed, and I don't platinum games. I'm not a trophy hunter or anything like that, but man, Stella Blade was so good. It was just so good, and the gameplay was smooth, fast, fun. PlayStation was really in their bag with like the cinematic scenes, the interactive cinematic scenes. I love that. I see a lot of hate on that sometimes online. I don't know why. I happen to love it. After you beat the boss fight or whatever. The game was challenging. When I started playing, I was like, okay, is this going to be like a Souls-like game with the whole difficulty thing? It's not. It's nowhere near the difficulty of a Souls game, but it was challenging, and there were definitely a lot of parts that you got up to, and you were like, okay, this is hard. it is open world. I love that. You can collect stuff. They give you a ton of outfits. They give you a gun. There's swords. It's just it was one of those games they did really really well with. A lot of people were talking about the story. They didn't love the story. I thought the story was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't gonna win an Oscar. That's fine. But I think I replayed the story 3 times. Just a lot of fun. Something, if I have to give it a knock, I would probably tell you that they could have done better with the landscape. So like one of the levels is the Great Desert and the Wasteland. I hate that there are two that look exactly the same. Not exactly, I shouldn't say exactly the same, but very similar. I like every area to be different. And but other than that, I think you know what, and I think traversal was a big thing in the Great Desert. It's a very open desert, like you feel like you're in the desert, and I think that they could have given her like a bike or some kind of hoverboard. You know, the thing in her hair could have done something. I don't know. So maybe if there's gonna be a second one, which I think there is, eventually. So I think they could do better with traversal in the open area instead of just running faster. She goes into an open sprint. I don't like that when you're in that open sprint, if one of the enemies who have a very wide area of like noticing you, they it stops that run. So little things like that, but there is nothing. I gave this game like a 9. I really enjoyed this game. So if you got a PS5, play Stella Blade. So that's number 2, Stella Blade. Go play it. That brings us to number 1, and there is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And number 1 is Black Myth Wukong. This game, I mean, it took me by storm. I didn't even really want this game when I first saw it. Make a long story short, a buddy convinced me to get it. I picked it up for PC. I never looked back. Within a week's time, this was all I was playing. I didn't play. I'm a big Fortnite guy. I didn't play none of that. Black Myth Wukong was so good. There were so many secrets. The combat was so good, so rewarding. Like you were able to you had all these different abilities, the skill tree. And one thing I really liked about it was that the power scaling was so good because as you leveled up, things got tougher too. They were easier, obviously, but they also, every time you beat the game, you come back. It was really, really good. The skill tree mattered, like things that you did, the abilities that you got, everything mattered. The story was a little odd because of the Chinese culture for me personally, but it was just so good, and they did such a good job. The game was gorgeous. I really don't have anything bad to say about it. If I had to say one thing that was bad, was they didn't give us a map. They did come out with an update and they did give us a map this month in December, but I played the whole game without a map because I beat the game well before that update came out. So it was just so good. Just the characters, the way that you go through the whole thing, the boss fights was a lot of people were saying it's like a boss fight simulator. It kind of is. There's so many bosses. I think there's 86 to be exact. But there's also so many things. I'll be honest, I had to look up a few things to see where I had to go. You could miss things and you have to you can't really go back to certain tasks. So, but it was just so good between the weapons, the armor, all the abilities. I highly recommend, if you have not played Black Myth Wukong, I highly, highly recommend it. And even though it's challenging, if you're not down with the Souls game and you always wanted to try, I think this is a better entry point than Elden Ring. And I played Elden Ring. I didn't finish it, but it was good. But Black Myth Wukong is all that in a bag of chips. So go out, check out Black Myth Wukong. This was my top 5. So I know some of them might be a little controversial. Some people have a thing that has nothing to do with the Game Awards, but you know what? I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned. We got one more segment. We're going to do some honorable mentions, and after that, I'll see you guys next. All right, so I just wanted to make a few honorable mentions that maybe did not make this list here, that were really close, that could be on somebody's top 5. Some of them almost made mine. The first one was Helldivers. I liked Helldivers. It was fun. To me, it was just boring without. It was just boring playing by yourself. But it was a fun multiplayer game. Fun, cool, a little different. I liked it. The second one was Rise of the Ronin. I liked Rise of Ronin, man. It was good. The whole Japanese culture, that always kind of sells me. But they did a good job. It was kind of like back in the day. It was not modern, but it was fun. Another one that I liked was Prince of Persia, Stellar Crown. Prince of Persia was good. I loved the Prince of Persia games. I do not really play side scrollers, and even so, I still, because I love Prince of Persia so much, I decided to get it anyway, and it was just so good, so well done, fun, had like a 3D depth effect to it, really, really fun. I never beat it. Never beat that game, but it was good. And of course, like the last one is Final Fantasy Rebirth. I'm going through it right now. So I did not play the whole game. I'm about a little more than halfway through. Really good. I'm not a Final Fantasy guy. I played Final Fantasy VII Remake. That was about it. So Rebirth's really fun, but it's just it's never going to be Final Fantasy. You got to really break the mold to be in my top 5. But all good games, all games that you can play. And that's really it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Feel free to comment and like and subscribe to tell me if you guys had anything similar. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Enjoy, guys.